All right, here we go. Overdrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan.
What's going on?
Just had a nice little stop and chat with Al's brother.
Al's brother bought us gifts. I got a Nick Taylor autographed golf card. Thank you, Nick, and thank you.
Shout
Al's
out
brother.
to Nick Taylor and Al's brother. There's something here waiting for you, Noodles, and I had a very special, near and dear gift handed to me as well.
Really?
Yes, a Bryan Hayes authentic Barry Colts rookie card from back in the day is now in my possession, so I appreciate that. Al's brother, and it's positive vibes, right? You get positive gifts, positive vibes.
I had a positive gift this morning from one of your disgusting disciples. How about that?
Who would that be?
I get my 5K in every other day, and I rounded a corner, and one of our people was outside with his dog, OverDrive wardrobe, pajamas, Nike Monarchs, and a grizzled goatee blowing a dart. And he sees me and he goes, just like Hayes said, being a hero running in the rain.
Good
and I
for
couldn't
him. Good for him.
I couldn't even, you got to stay focused. You got to keep running. But that was his comment.
So
Got to be a hero, just like Hayes said, running in the rain.
Yeah, I never thought I'd see the day where you would become running in the rain guy. When you have the availability, I'm sure, to go to the gym if you want to.
Yeah.
Dude, I do. I even have a treadmill. I have a treadmill in the basement.
So what do you need to go outside for if it's
Dude,
raining?
nothing compares to 5K on the streets.
Yes, but if it's raining, it's unnecessary.
Oh, it's not, dude. You got to do it, man. It's a lifestyle and it's a vibe. That's why CJ and Bobby Weeks, they're committed and they do it every.
Is Bob a big runner? I don't think.
Bob Weeks?
I didn't know that he was a big runner.
Dude, that guy runs 30K a day.
Okay, you know what I appreciate? You know what I appreciate? That I didn't know that. That means Bob runs in silence.
Yeah.
Bob runs and doesn't
Doesn't
have to
draw
let the
attention
world
to
know,
him.
right? That I ran.
James Duthie was at the Masters and said Bob's a runner.
That's
on
probably
national
why he
TV.
can eat what he can eat. Did you see his repertoire down at the Masters? How many sandwiches that cat was eting?
Dude, that guy was farting egg salad sandwiches for 4 days.
No, he was running. He was running everything out of his system every morning. So it was all good.
I think the problem, what we need to do is cue up that video again of that lady biting it. And when you run in the elements, you take a chance of that happening
Dude, I'll
to
be.
you.
That's right.
I'm in a position now. It could be 30 below and it's snowing sideways, and I'll be out there. I'm telling you right now.
Good for you, and I hope that keeps up. I know, like, the thing is with dieting, with running, it can roller coaster, right? Like, I know a lot of people.
Why would you say that?
I'm not trying to be negative here. I'm not
You're
trying to be
saying
negative.
September I show up and I'm a moose again.
No, I hope not. I don't think so. I think you're committed, and once you put the work in, I know from my own experience, once you've gotten through the grind, you will not look back because you understand how hard it is. But there's ways to cheat the system, right? As opposed to having to run every day, you just say, you know what, I'm going to eat properly all the time, right? Because it can be tough. It can be tough in the elements. Now's when you want to run. The weather's nice, right? It's not too hot. It's not too cold. This is perfect. If you're an athlete, you want to get outside, you want to get moving, this would be the time to do it. But we'll see what happens come the fall. And in the winter, I'm pulling for you. I'm rooting for you. I'm just saying, I know people in my own personal life got big into running for a while, and then after a while, it stopped. You know, shin splints, or you blow a hammy, or you pull a Chris Finch of the T-Wolves and blow your kneecap out.
Speaking of eating routines, I heard an outrageous one today. My buddy Parrish owns a golf gallery on Bloor Street, and I had to drop a club off, and I was going to get a bite to eat. And I said, hey, you want me to grab you something? I'm just going to eat, and I'll come back and get my club. He goes, I don't eat. He goes, I eat one meal a day at midnight.
Wow.
I said, what? He goes, I haven't eaten a meal during the day my whole adult life. I eat at midnight, one meal. And I go, what do you eat at midnight? He's like, whatever I want, a nice bowl of pasta, like an omelet. And that's his only meal of the day at midnight. I have never heard of that in my life.
No, that's like a weird fast, you know. Like you do hear that kind of stuff every once in a while.
This is not
one meal a
fasting.
day. No, that's just the way he lives his life.
Yeah.
That's some people. Everyone's got a different relationship with food. You know, like
Or
some people-
routine.
or routine.
Right.
Like some people just don't care about food. Don't have taste buds. Don't care. Like, it doesn't matter, you know? Like, me, I enjoy food, and I enjoy, admittedly, a lot of unhealthy foods. So you have to keep it in check. But if I didn't have taste buds or didn't care about food, that's probably how I would live my life.
Yeah.
Just give me one or two meals and I'm done.
If you've got like really crazy routines or know someone, shoot them our way.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe. I've never heard of a guy eating one.
That's like a military lifestyle.
Yeah,
that's like a Navy SEAL type thing.
That's that is the fasting routine as well. I know he's not doing it, but that's just what people do. I'm a creature of habit. I could eat the same thing every day for months on end. Like, I have no problem with it. I have protein shake in the morning, a sandwich or chicken fingers, something at lunch, and then at dinner where it's chicken and rice, and that's it. And then I like popcorn at night. I could do that.
You could have the exact same
months on end, and I would not even.
And you wouldn't think twice.
Like, I like pizza, so I mean, you got to have a wheel in there somewhere, pasta here or there. But like, for the most part, I could eat the same thing. That's why when I was training in the off season, and it was time to kind of like clean things up after you've been letting yourself go and drinking, like, I could stick to a routine, and I would do that for a month, and it would just.
That's huge. That's huge for you. Yeah, if you can get back on track, or avoid snacking, or really ridiculous weekends of just gorging on food, that can go a long way for you. But yeah, some people are just disciplined like that. Like, they have their mindset like, this is what I'm going to eat at that point, and that's what they eat, even if they don't feel like it or have a craving for something else. Like, I'm just way too weak to do that. If I have a craving for something and it's available, it's going down. Like, it's going to happen. I am wrestling with that, and it's going to happen. I do not have...
You can't fight off a hunger, like a growl, where you're like, I'm just going to have a glass of water and go to bed.
Rarely. Very rarely. Like, and it's not that I have a buffet set up at my house, but if I have a bag of chips and there's a Leaf game on, I'm opening that thing, and I'm probably going to get after it, and it's probably going to happen. That's just the honest truth. And then the next day, if I have a hankering for something and it's available, I'm probably going to have that. Some people are like, no, I'm committed to eating this tomorrow afternoon, and that's what I'm going to eat. Anyway, we got a Leaf game tonight. I don't think Matthews is playing. Everyone's asking me. I'm sure you guys are getting the same questions. We'll see. The fact that he took a twirl today, that was an I'm injured and I'm going to test it out twirl. That's what that was this morning.
I don't understand. Like, I don't know why you need to do this. And I get it. It's Auston Matthews. He's a big star. But to go back to the well, wasn't there like the doctor's call?
That's what
no doctor
Keefe
stands
claimed.
there and watches and says, no, you're not playing tonight. I've said it before, Noodles. Like, you're either hurt or you're injured. He must be injured.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
if
he
you're
can't
injured,
play.
it
Like,
sucks.
it's just, I don't know why it's this big like mystery. Oh my goodness, it's just.
Well,
I mean, it's going to come out tomorrow or tonight, but you can't play.
Bottom line is we will find out eventually. But my thing is, I had somebody say this to me today. If it's an illness, well, wouldn't they keep him away from the team? Obviously not contagious, right? Like, it's not like, because if somebody's sick, remember when the COVID and everything was like, oh, this guy's got to be away from the team. This guy's got the runs. You can't. So it's not an illness. To me, it's related. He could have been sick, but now he's banged up or something, or maybe tied to it. Again, I'm not going to challenge it. I'm biased. I love the Leaf doctors. I think they're the best. I know them personally. I think they're amazing. But it's just the bigger picture is obviously something they can't tell us, but he's trying it out, whether it's back or groin or whatever. And if he can go tonight, he's going to go. He's not going to sit on the sidelines and go, you know what, I got the sniffles. Like this.
That's not happening. Like, there's just, it's not, it's impossible to believe that. Impossible that in the Stanley Cup playoffs, this guy isn't going to play through, being hurt or being ill to some extent. It's got to be something serious and something that's really, really ailing him. And, whether or not you get the information beforehand or not is irrelevant. What's relevant is, are you going to play? And we'll find out, obviously, as of 6:30. If he's on the ice for the pregame, that goes a long way. But what we witnessed this morning is he went out first during the pregame skate. He was out there for about 8 or 9 minutes and left. That historically would suggest that's a guy testing something. And the fact that he left as quickly as he did tells me he's probably not playing. That tells me he tested it and it didn't test well. Again, we'll find out tonight. Chris Johnston, Jonas Siegel, they're down there. CJ will join us at 6 o'clock. They're reporting that even though it's not official, it's unlikely he plays. So if Matthews is out, that's a massive, massive hole in the lineup that they're going to have to deal with. But the reality is he played 2 periods the other night, and he didn't do anything Saturday night. He did nothing on Saturday night. Game 3, he wasn't great either. So they haven't really had him for the last couple of games anyway. They lost both games. And as we said yesterday, and it again seems clear based on what we saw at the morning skate this morning, Joseph Woll is going to get the start. And I think it can be a combination of multiple things here. Is it desperate? Probably. Is it something that maybe should have happened earlier in the series? Possibly. But is it the right call? Yes, I think it is. Because I don't think you can go wrong with throwing something else out there. And it's not to blame Samsonov.
No, but if Samsonov went in and he let in 2 kind of goofy ones and then was okay, you'd be saying, why did you think that wouldn't happen?
Right.
Because you're looking for spectacular. And right now, Samsonov hasn't been that, so why not try something else?
Exactly. I think that chip has sailed the idea that Samsonov will steal you games to get you back in the dance.
This is the last shot, man.
It's Joseph Woll. He's got history in that marketplace. He's played the Bruins multiple times this year. It didn't go so well, but even in those games, they didn't score for him, right? Like the Leafs didn't supply him with any offense. So you're putting in a new goalie. You're putting in a young guy, a guy that's going to be a part of their future. Right? I can't imagine Samsonov's a part of this team moving forward. It's possible, but it seems very unlikely. And Joseph Woll will be. So give him an opportunity to give you a fresh look on things and a different feel and a different voice in the crease. I think that's the right play. But, like we've been saying now throughout this series, the series against Florida, if they don't score goals, it's all moot anyway. And it's more challenging now because the best goal scorer in the world is not likely to play. We'll see. But even if he does play, he's nowhere close to 100%. So it's going to have to be a team effort tonight. They've got to find a way to break through and get on the board. And their special teams have to be better. And their goalie's got to stand on his head. It's
There's
not
only one
easy.
thing to do. There's no sense of sitting here and talking about some stupid cliche, how they have to dig down and find something. When's the next game? Friday?
Thursday. Yeah.
Thursday.
Now you play every other night.
There's a game Thursday. You could show each other how bad you want to play in that game. It's very simple.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty easy at this particular stage to be on your computer on Expedia and figuring things out and say, check, please. And that's all they got to do. There's no sense saying, they're playing for they're just playing for Thursday for each other to play in that game. Mm-hmm. That's the opportunity available. They're still in a bad spot Thursday. But there's a game Thursday, and they can play in it, so they can show each other how bad they want to play in that game. Because that's all they got.
Well, you're right, and there's multiple factors that come with that. Like, Boston they're saying the right things. They pissed away a 3-1 lead last year. Tonight, they're going to try. They're going to try and get the jugular tonight because they don't want to go back to a game 6 where eventually you think that the Leafs would win one at home. So, to me, if the Leafs can win tonight, I think they can get it to 7. Mm-hmm. So that's got to be the focal point. So if you're Boston, they're going to. I don't know if they're going to be tight. I don't know if they're going to be loose, but they're going to throw everything they've got at it. So if you're the Leafs, you've got to counterpunch that. You've got to be ready. And it is, the cliche, we're not going to have it, but it is. It's do or die. You're done. You're done tomorrow.
It literally
if you don't play
is tonight. Yeah,
exactly.
It's, how I feel about treat it like blah, blah, blah. But this literally is. Like there's a handshake line tonight, and that's what's at stake. You are quite literally packing your bags and you're done. And there's a number of people that will be playing, that will be on the bench, that will be in the front office that could be looking at their final game within the Maple Leaf organization. I mean, that seems to be what is at stake tonight. And I don't know what that means for everyone. I don't know how people react to that. But, we spent the last 48 hours focusing on the Leafs naturally. But there is a Bruins component to it where the Bruins just last year choked away a 3-1 series. Just last year. You get them tonight, you get them thinking. Like that flight up to Toronto would feel eerily similar to the flight down to Florida last year, where they're like, okay, we got to go back. Like, that's what you're focusing on because they have the same coach.
Force them on the plane.
The same players. Like, it's effectively, yes, there's turnover, but a lot of the same guys that were a part of it last year are still here and doing the heavy lifting. And if you're the Leafs, and that building will be rocking. It's a tough building to play in. And they understand that there's blood in the water tonight. And you can go and watch your team, if you're a Boston fan, punch a ticket to the second round. This would be a fun game to go to. But it can and will get nervous if the Leafs come out flying. And I think it's imperative they get on the board early. It's imperative they score at least 3 goals tonight. I mean, these are just standard procedures that have to apply to the sport. You've got to score 3 or more tonight. You've got to kill penalties with a vengeance. And
they damn well know what's at stake.
Yes,
what needs to happen.
Knows.
If they don't know that,
everyone
they got to
knows.
get their power play cooking. And that sometimes puts you under the gun because you get the puck and you just start shooting it randomly. You're like, I got to get a shot on net. It's like kill penalties beyond the power play. It's all under one thing. They got to play way better.
Yeah.
Like Auston Matthews is not going to play tonight. So what? Colorado Avalanche won a Stanley Cup without Peter Forsberg. Got hurt in a series. They still went on to win.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Sakic took over the Mail. I know these guys aren't Joe Sakic or Peter Forsberg, but the big boy goes down. Some of you other guys just stand up and you can mention the star players and they're the main focus point, but Matthew Nyes could score a goal. Well, somebody else could score a goal. Yarncrook could get one. It's just they all got to be better.
That's my point is you can do it by committee because we see teams throughout the league go, okay, we're gonna play it. Let's try and win it 1-0. Yes, Hayes, I know you're right. Get to 3, try and score 4. All of that. It might be a 2-1 game tonight. It might be, hey, you know what? It's going to be the difference is going to be 1 shot, 1 play. But whatever the game dictates, you got to be able to be ready for it. That's the way I see it because there's no script. Every game kind of lays out a little different. Some are a little looser, some are a little higher emotion, more hits, less skilled plays, and you got to be able to win any which way. But you got to be desperate tonight. You have to, because I think Boston's going to be desperate. I think they're being reminded over there too. We don't want to go through what we went through last year. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be desperate. The Leafs have to be desperate as well. And outside of Woll, are we having any changes there? Did I see anything?
I think Brody may come back out. It seems like, Liljegren could go in. I've seen some stuff that would suggest maybe Giordano is lurking. I don't know who he would go in for unless there's some sort of injury we're not aware of. But I think Liljegren might go in. Brody will likely come out. And beyond that, again, with Matthews out, I guess you've got to shift. Something's going to change there up front. But this is a scenario where if you're Sheldon Keefe, even though the other night he said, it's a recipe for poor results and possibly disaster if you start, coaching like your hair's on fire and blah, blah, blah. But
it is on fire.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. Exactly. If I'm Sheldon Keefe, and yes, all of the depth players, everyone factors in. It's a team sport.
Right.
But I would be going to Marner and Nylander, probably Morgan Riley, maybe Tavares, and say, you guys are playing a ton tonight. I'm riding you into the ground tonight. Win, lose, or draw, we need you guys to be great. And Willie, you're going 25 tonight. Mitch, you may play 27
Willie,
or 28.
On 2 different lines.
You're playing everywhere. We're skipping Reeves shifts here or there, and you're going, Mitch, we need you in every possible situation tonight. You guys are veterans. You're not kids anymore. You guys have played us into this situation, and you got to get us out. And that would be my mentality if I'm Sheldon Keefe. Go down with the ship, because I think he's aware of what his future probably entails if it doesn't go well tonight. I think a lot of people are aware of that. And you can't coach thinking, oh, this could be the end. But you have to have it tonight. You can't leave the building saying, yeah, we lost 3-2, and oh, Willie only played 17-30. I got lost. He
also can't go up there and say anything about respecting a handshake or we gave it our all and we just fell up short.
No, respect in the handshake can't happen.
Or came up short. You got dominated by a team that you had more talent than.
Yeah,
offensive talent anyway. They're not playing like it, but you can't go to the well with anything after this series, any kind of positivity saying, oh, hey, we got beat by a goaltender or just the great Boston Bruins. They just outplayed you, top to bottom, outplayed you.
Yeah, that's possibly facing them if they can't get the job done tonight. And what we do know is Florida's waiting. And that speaks to the desperation of Boston as well, is that Florida's waiting. They got out of there basically unscathed. Not a lot of travel up and down Florida, pretty good setup. And now you got time off, and now you're healthy, and now you're waiting. And that was a big hurdle for them, too. I think mentally beating Tampa, that's very symbolic because of the Lightning's history within the state, within the region, within the rivalry, what Tampa did to them a couple of years ago. That was a beatdown last night. And I think Tampa's got legitimate beasts. Both goals that were called off I thought were a joke, absolute joke. But they called them off, and you lost 6-1. So, and you were down 3-1 in the series. You were losing probably anyway. I don't think the goal calls were going to have any effect on whether or not that was going to a 6th game. Florida was winning last night.
Yeah, they weren't going to be, denied.
Noodles, what did you think of those goaltender interference?
I didn't think that. I think they were soft. You know what? Like to me, especially the second one, where I thought
Sorelli?
both of them. Yeah, the Sorelli, he was on the outside of the crease and then spun into it. There's a slight, with his right skate and Bob's right skate click right there. I'm sorry, that's his left skate and Bob's right skate. But he was outside of the crease, and Bob went into him. I thought both of them were goals, but again, I thought Coop handled it he was complaining about it, but he said, listen, we were down 3-1. He said all the right things as far as in the series. I'm not going to take anything away from Florida. Florida deserved to win that. It might have changed yesterday's game, but it didn't. Those were two bad calls. They were missed.
And Florida was better.
They were.
Florida
They were
is better. They were better. And that's going to be a really tough challenge because the Panthers look like a team that they are frothing at the mouth for anyone wants a piece. And they look like they're ready to play. Yes.
You're right, but the other thing, too, is Sam Bennett. That buys them more time with Sam Bennett to get him healthy.
Oh, they're rooting for the Leafs tonight. You can bank on that. They're praying the Leafs push this an extra 2 or 3 days.
Ryan Lomberg is a guy who's been sick and kind of out. They've got a few guys there that are nicked up that if they could buy a little bit more time, they're fine. But they are frothing at the mouth. They're a hell of a team. They are a hell of a team. And you know what? If it's Boston that gets them or if the Leafs that get them, they'll be underdogs because to me, Florida is a serious team.
They're the favorites.
Yeah.
No question. Whoever they play, if it's Boston, even if they got to start, although they'd have home ice, it's tough to envision Boston winning that series. It can happen, and again, we'll get to that if and when that happens. But Florida is the prohibitive favorite. And, I think Carolina's going to punch a ticket tonight, and it's Carolina, New York, and Florida. That's what it's going to be. And, likely Boston with the way this is trending right now. All right, James Duthie will join us in studio. Claude Julien coming up just after 5 o'clock. Claude's obviously very familiar with the Bruins and the Leafs and coaching in games like the one we're about to see tonight. So we'll catch up with him just after 5 o'clock, get his take on Game 5. Among other big games tonight, it's all a 3-1 series. There's 4 games tonight. All of them could end in a handshake line. There could be a lot of respect and a lot of handshake lines tonight. A lot of respect in 4 different handshake lines.
I hate that.
It's the worst line ever. A lot of respect in that handshake line, of course, because they're moving on and you're going home.
It's terrible.
OverDrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Claude Julien coming up in about a half an hour. James Duthie will join us here in a moment. I saw Rob Longley tweet out that Rob Manfred, I guess, is in town.
For what?
I would guess he's checking out the new digs down there.
Remember Bobby Mans at the labor negotiation meetings? Someone got the vid of him practicing his swing.
Yeah, he was working on his draw.
That was so funny. There was so much angst between everyone, and he was outside of a room just doing the transition.
Yeah. It was a full watch YouTube video, now execute in between meetings. And he was so despised during those negotiations. Every commissioner is. Whenever there's a lockout or a CBA negotiation, the commissioner is just an absolute target for everybody. Everyone is taking shots. And you're right. The media was sniffing around hey, I wonder what's going on. They must be in a break. And
then this tweet comes out. There's Bobby Mans practicing the 5-iron. I love that.
And he was in a golf shirt, too, which was even better.
Dude, I love those videos that pop up. You'll see a doctor before surgery, sitting in the surgery room, and you see the screen of the computer looking at drivers online.
love that.
JD's in here. Your headphones, I guess you got to throw them on there. Yeah, I don't know where they. I guess those are them. Well, if you want to hear Noodles.
Oh,
yeah, I guess ideally. I mean, we could just mute Noodles for the next 15 minutes.
Cut me out.
Sorry, Noodles.
We're all in here.
I always want to hear you, buddy.
Yeah, it's good to see you, JD.
Yeah.
How are we feeling about tonight?
Just be honest, man.
Not very good, I guess. But if this is the time you win, if Matthews isn't playing and everybody is already doing the autopsies, then go out and prove everybody wrong. I just don't have a lot of faith that it happens.
I don't think a lot of people do right now. I would suggest the same thing in Winnipeg. Like, it's the same thing with them. Does anyone in Winnipeg think that the Jets are going to win tonight?
Yeah, there's like 2 parachutes up there that have got holes in them, and people are just prepared to
It's wild.
They're heading down to the ground.
Yeah.
A week ago, we
wild.
were talking about 4 Canadian teams, all with decent chances.
Looking good.
Right? And now, after tonight, it's going to be the maximum of 1 Canadian team in the Final Four. Now, you're going to be guaranteed if Edmonton and Vancouver wins, 1 Canadian team in the Final Four, but you won't have any more than that. And so suddenly these, what looked like pretty decent odds, are now down to Edmonton or Vancouver.
Yeah.
If that happens.
And it's interesting. Vancouver can close tonight, which would be an incredible story. And I feel good about that happening. Yet it looks like they're going to be on their 3rd-string goalie going tonight. And DeSmith may back up, which I find interesting. That's kind of what Tocchet was indicating this morning.
Like, if you can put your gear on to back up, why don't...
Exactly. Like, if DeSmith is capable of going in if need be, why wouldn't you start?
Because
tonight?
I think that they think in their minds it's a little bit of house money. They completely stole one the other day. So now you're up 3-1. And if it's still nagging DeSmith, then these headphones suck. So just tell me when Noodles is talking and I'll put them back on. Then if something is still nagging DeSmith, then so you give him a little bit days rest, and okay, if you lose, then you can go back to him in the next game. But
that seems like a dangerous game for a team that hasn't won a playoff series in a long time.
Yeah, but
and Silovs has been pretty good. I mean,
yeah, that's why I say I think there's okay rationale to it if unless the kid gets completely bombed tonight and you have to go to the other guy.
Right. Well, and it's really about big time goalies stepping up tonight, because Saros has not been that good statistically. And Hellebuck's been statistically the worst goalie in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's
it's pretty
a crazy
wild
story.
that they're at home tonight. Hellebuck's in net, and there's a mentality like they can't beat this team.
I think they'd have a shot tonight, but does anybody think? Like, I would think Toronto has a better chance to beat Boston 3 in a row than Winnipeg has to beat Colorado 3 in a row.
Which again speaks to recency bias with Hellebuck. Because I think if I told you, if I made that statement a week ago.
No, to me, it's biased to Colorado.
Really?
Just watching Makar and McKinnon and Ranton.
Okay.
How they crush teams at home.
Yeah.
I'm not disputing that. Colorado's been great. My point being is if I had have told you without context, without watching anything a week ago, Leafs down 3-1, Joseph Woll is now in net. Jets down 3-1, Hellebuck's in net.
Yeah, you're probably
I think
right.
you'd naturally say, I believe Hellebuck can do this. Like, he's so good. Hellebuck could do what Bobrovsky did last year, yet he's been so bad, I don't think that's possible anymore.
I'm going to do like the 40s radio guy and listen to Noodles when he's
There you go. Is it Paul Graham or whatever his name used to be that would do like the 60-minute update?
We're into the bottom of the 6th here at Abbott's Field.
There you go.
Well, let me chime in on it. Like, you're right, but like, things change, and Hellebuck he has to have a game. Bottom line is he has to have an unbelievable game for Winnipeg to be even in it. And I think what JD's talking about is you've watched Colorado just destroy Winnipeg the last couple games, but you're back on home ice. You've got to draw from something, and you have to think that Scheifele and their big boys haven't responded yet. Maybe they have a game, and maybe Georgie 5 has an off game too as well.
Yeah, if that's what you're banking on, then it again feels desperate. You're not wrong, Noodles. That probably is what you're hoping if you're in Winnipeg, is that Georgiev returns to game one form, and then all of a sudden the floodgates possibly open. Yeah, they're making lineup changes. I guess Perfetti's going in. Like, he's been in the doghouse now for a couple of weeks.
Since January 1.
It's been a while, and he's played himself into the doghouse. But there's some desperate times in Winnipeg and in Toronto where. Like they've had one GM since they returned to Winnipeg. One. And, Shanahan's been here for a decade.
I feel like it's different, though. And maybe I'm just again, we're in the mix here in Toronto, but I feel like this was kind of a successful year for Winnipeg, considering where they were last summer, when it looked like it was all about to crumble and it was going to be full rebuild. And then they signed Scheifele and Hellebuck, and they both have good years, and the team had a really good year, and they ran into a juggernaut in Colorado. And yeah, it would be nice if they maybe put up a better fight or Hellebuck was better. But I don't think that's the same situation as Toronto. I think that the deal they made with LA was a good trade, and Winnipeg's kind of in a good spot right now for the next couple of years. Whereas, the Leafs were in kind of blow up land if things go south tonight.
Yeah, that's pretty wild to think that blow up could be a part of the vernacular here.
Blow up with no success,
Yeah, I mean, what does that look like to you?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know about Shanny. I don't know what Keith Pelly is thinking. That's a 50-50 proposition. Again, this is all based on losing tonight. I think Keefe is a man who knows he's coached his last game if they lose tonight. I think you could see it in his news conferences the last couple of games. I think, for sure that the core is broken up in the sense, and Marner's probably the most likely if they can work that out because Willie's just signed and Matthews isn't going anywhere. And the rest of it, the evil quizmaster asked about 3 years in a row. The evil quizmaster sometimes
tell you to mention him every time you're on.
No, I don't. I'm knocking him more than anything else.
Okay,
but he will send extra questions to us. What do you think of this question? And for the last 3 years, he was trying to get me to ask the question on the quiz: is it time to remove the C from John Tavares and give it to Auston Matthews? And every time I said, I don't think that's a fair question to ask on the quiz. I Tavares has been a good player. Mm-hmm. And I think stripping the captaincy is a big step, and I didn't see any reason to do so. And so I kept pushing that question to the side. And I think if they lose tonight, is the first valid time as part of the reboot that you would do that. And again, I think Tavares has been a good player and a good captain, but I think if you're going to shift culture, whatever you want to call it, it's probably time to give it to 34. With Tavares in a weird position with 1 year left on his contract.
Yeah, very Joe Thornton, Patrick Marleau, Blake Wheeler type vibes.
You can't have, it's difficult for the captain. The captain has got to be, for the most part, Adam Lowry's like a second or third line centerman who fights and he hits and he's competitive. And that's one type of captain. And Adam Lowry's a great captain and a great leader. But you got to be the man a lot of times where it's like, regularly you show up, you play, and you're the star, and you have the relationship with the refs. And if you come in and you're in a different place as far as what you were as a player, it's difficult to relay that message because everyone's looking at you saying, come on, man, you're not even the guy you used to be, and you're kind of barking instructions and order. It's just it's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, and I think everything will be on the table if and when they go out here. I think that's what most people are embracing and what most people are expecting. Now, we have also been in this position for, I would say, the last 3 or 4 years where people are anticipating change and it doesn't really happen.
I think this is different.
It feels different.
It feels different.
Possibly because there's more
I got two hockey buddies
before.
that are I think, I'm not going to say the typical Leaf fans because there's a lot of different types of Leaf fans out there. And I think we make a mistake by throwing them all in one basket. But they are the overreactionary ones that I play golf with them every day, the day after the last game of the year, and they're like, fire everybody, trade this guy, trade this guy, trade this guy. And I'm always saying, calm down, guys, But I think this is the time that, they're not wrong. The one more year last year, let's try this, let's roll this out one more year. I think that made sense, to be frank, but I don't think it makes sense anymore. And I think everybody's on board with that probably.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. James Duthie in studio. 4 games tonight. Again, all 4 have a chance to close. I think Carolina closes. I feel good about Vancouver.
Can I just say it? This has been a garbage
awful
first round.
Awful.
We
look
forward to this all year round.
Horrible.
Well, think about how excited we were about Colorado, Winnipeg, 7-game series. Colorado went in there and spanked them a week before the playoffs. And it's a junk series.
Dallas, Vegas might be the only thing that saves this. I think the Vancouver story is the coolest story just because of the way they won those 2 games in Nashville is ludicrous. That was pure, unadulterated.
Those fans will be jacked up.
Thievery. Yeah, so that's a cool story. But besides that, just like the least jam of any first round in a long time, which sucks because it's usually the best round.
No, you're right. It's been, we were talking about it yesterday. I said it was dull.
Not over
You said
yet.
it was
I mean, you could get maybe 3 of the 3-1 teams will win tonight and we'll have something, right?
Well, how many do you think are going to go 7? Like, I feel like Vegas Dallas is now on a crash course towards that.
I would say that's the only one.
You think any other can survive?
So LA winning 2 in a row, probably not.
Nashville
would have a chance if you look at the last 2 games. And is that goalie due for a rookie kind of night at some point? If Nashville, I bet you if Nashville wins tonight, is it tonight?
Yes, they play tonight.
Nashville wins tonight, then we end up in Vancouver for a game 7. And Toronto Boston, I wouldn't. If Toronto wins tonight with their record at home, I would not say that there's a guarantee we're going back to Boston for a game 7.
No, I agree.
I'd like to think so, but who knows?
But eventually, I think that's where my point, and I was telling the guys earlier, is I think they will. If Toronto wins tonight, that puts the pressure back on Toronto. On Boston. And at some point, they're going to win on home ice. It might be next year, unfortunately. But to me, if they win tonight, they come home and get a little bit of momentum. I don't know if they're going to win 3 in a row. I'll be honest. I just don't know. I think Boston, I don't think they're going to piss away a 3-1 lead 2 years in a row. That's unheard of, but it was unheard of what they did last year, too. So
whoever goes, we talked about it at the top, but whoever gets Florida wants to smash people around, man. They are not screwing around.
Yeah.
Like, they're coming for blood. They look awesome.
The most fascinating thing, if the Leafs could force 7, besides just the pure entertainment value in all of it, is the fact that for the first time in this long modern history of Leafs-Bruins, all the heat would be on the Bruins in Game 7. Because even when the Leafs came back and forced once before, right? When they were down 3-1.
Twice. In 2013, they did, and 2018.
But it still felt like, maybe in 13, the pressure was on the Bruins more. 2018, I don't know, by the time, it felt like the Leafs had to win at that point. But this would be like all the heat on the Bruins. Maybe not like in this market. Toronto still needs to win, but that would be a fascinating Game 7.
Well,
yes. They'd be facing embarrassment, right, because they did it last year.
Exactly.
Like the idea of being labeled back-to-back years where you choked away 3-1, that would be hanging over them.
It would be. Where are you guys' head at? Now, again, I had somebody say to me today, who's a diehard Leaf fan, go, I'd much rather have them lose tonight than push it to 7 and lose. Because that way you make excuses and go, hey, maybe you do run it back next year. Look at this, look at that. Excuses other than, hey, you know what? It didn't work, and you got to change things right now. That was his mentality, is like, hey, I'm a fan of this team, but you know what? This is a flawed team. It's been flawed, and tonight can be a dagger. And I said, well, what if they push it to 7? He goes, what if they push it to 7 and lose? Then will they make an excuse to run it back?
If they're going to lose tonight, I think that's
what I'm asking you guys.
That is the answer. If you're going to lose tonight, so that you there is no, on 2 different fronts. One, well, look at they actually pushed back and their perseverance, and Auston was hurt and Mitch wasn't feeling well and Willie, those excuses they may actually try to throw out there, and people might actually buy some of them. If you lose in 5, it's almost impossible to do that.
No, just go 7, but still have made your decision now at the top that you're going to make whatever changes you were going to make if they lost.
Sure,
at 5.
but here's where let me finish, because that's from a team perspective. I think it would be incredibly cruel to your fans to do that again to them.
Well, what's more cruel?
Oh, it's much more cruel to storm back and lose in 7.
So this isn't cruel to just be woeful bow out in the most quietest, probably most embarrassing way of this entire run?
No, I think because now people are expecting them to lose. So if they lose tonight, Leaf fans are like, of course you lost. I thought you'd lose. If you go to 7, a large portion will say, you know what, I think they're going to do it.
That's like a guy on the hospital bed that flatlines, and then you're like, okay, it's over, and then he comes alive,
it's way
and
more
10 minutes
cruel.
later, he's gone.
It's way more cruel if you push it to 7 and lose again. At 7.
It's
way
cruel,
more
but
cruel.
it's way more embarrassing this way, I think. I mean, this.
Well, it is from an organizational standpoint.
Yeah.
But I think, like, if you're asking Leaf fans, like, what is the worst
Possible
type of
death?
ammo?
If you have to choose your death.
It's 7 again, because they have this history of losing in Game 7 all the time, and specifically to the Bruins. They literally storm back down 3-1 in 13 and in 18. If you do it again and lose again, that's That's outrageous.
So this this is quietly you die in your sleep
Yes.
tonight, where the other one is just some painful poison.
This is, you lose in 5 tonight. Leaf fans can sit down with Bruin fans and equally say, oh, I know, it was terrible, it's brutal. If you storm back and push to 7, I just think it's incredibly cruel to your fans.
This is the only place that philosophy would be taken as true.
That's the psychology of Leaf fans, I'm telling you.
But you know what, guys? Like,
If you're going to lose tonight.
This is what sucks.
I'm all in with that. That's a fair comment.
Yeah, if you win tonight, you better win. That's what I would
Right.
say, because I think it's also cruel to come home and lose
How about win
again.
tonight, show some pride, lose in 6? That's not cruel yet, is
Yes, it is, because then that would be 7 straight losses at home in the playoffs. And that means the people that left the building on Saturday who were so down
Dude, that's
have to go back in there.
Would that be
on
7
Thursday
straight
night.
with you in attendance?
That streak at
That would be.
home.
That's accurate.
That streak at home is like a sub story that's driving people nuts. It's like the playoff lack of success, but they're like, they can't win a game at home in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
And everyone is all bent out of shape. You know how many times I've heard, you know how much money I pay to go to the game and they lose? This is
But
like,
literally, there is multiple people, probably thousands of people that have spent tens of thousands of dollars over those 6 games, and they've lost every single one.
of course.
You're going into the building on Saturday saying the last 5 times I was in here, I paid $4,000 a pop for these tickets.
I have
or
a
whatever.
buddy who lives in Vancouver who's a Leafs fan, and he flies when they make it to the playoffs to every game, home and away.
Wow.
And he called me the other day, said, hey, you got any line on any tickets? I mean, I'll pay for them, but the same old line you always get from people. But I said, I don't. I can't get tickets. I can't. We go on there and criticize them every night. I can't. I have no inside track to any tickets. And I said, why don't you just wait? Wait till game 6 at least, or maybe the second round before you spend your money and fly all over the place following this team. And again, I love the passion of him and every other Leaf fan, but man, that's a lot.
And that the scary thing, but also I think the amazing thing is that if they lose tonight, everyone next year will just be back and loving the team, because there's also an approach that you've gone this far, you're not going to stop now. You know, like you're not. If you've been a fan for 30 years, 40 years,
Nobody's ever out. I spoke to our buddy Donnie Nichols today, and he's like, I'm disappointed, but a week from now, I'll be excited about what's ahead. And
of course.
That's just what you do.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know
right
if any listeners are like this. You know, Puffy. Puffy's our producer,
course.
who also happens to be a diehard Leafs fan. So around game 70, when Matthews was chasing, he maybe got his 63rd goal or 64th, and he was chasing 70. Puffy says, you know what? I've come around. I'm happy with this team right now because I get 6 months of great regular season success, great storylines like Matthews. I don't care what happens in the playoffs. I don't care.
Stupid mentality.
I got a team that makes it. I got a team that makes it every year. So the other night when they're down 3-1,
Yeah, we all witnessed
he's
it.
in the room just throwing stuff at the television. Yeah. I hate this team. I hate this team. I said 2 weeks ago you were the most satisfied fan. You'd change. You'd come around.
Yeah.
I don't care.
No, I know.
That's true though. That's true when they say like I didn't really like when you go to the NHL. It's like you don't really know about fandom, but when people say like it's in your blood, like you can't just wake. I couldn't just wake up or. Our buddy Donnie or my neighbor, it's like you couldn't wake up and say, "Oh, I'm going to cheer for the Habs next year." It's in your blood.
You can't do it, man.
No,
you're a fan of who you're a fan of.
That's it.
That's that.
But
Sorry, go ahead, Noodles. Go ahead.
No, I was just
we
going to
gotta
say.
run here.
No, I know, but my question is how many people are going to say, "I'm done with them. I'm done with them," but they're not. They're lying. They're done with them for a week. They're done with them for a couple weeks, but then they get dragged right back in. That's just the emotion of being a fan. That's what it is.
Yeah, which is totally reasonable and fine. Nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That's the beauty of fandom.
Yeah.
All right, JD, we'll see you tonight.
It'll be fun. We should. I've always said the big missing from TSN's coverage is to have a camera in that room on O-Dog and Puffy and such.
I'm going to be here tonight. I might pop over.
Yeah, you
and
should
witness that.
drop
I want
by.
to see that. See what's going on tonight over
It'll be
there.
fun either way.
All right, there's James Duthie. Claude Julien coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Claude Julien confirm or deny still to come. Leafs-Bruins tonight right here on TSN Radio. Game 5. Lakers are out. Jamal Murray did it again last night. Shut the lights out for LeBron and the Lakers. And after the game, LeBron didn't want to talk about his future. Brian Windhorst reporting today it's likely he's going to opt out of his contract.
Oh, but there'll be some cryptic emoji Instagram post where then the world has to figure out and just talk about LeBron. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't want to talk about it.
No, he's not going to.
Not just say, I'm going to take a couple days. That's all you got to say.
Right. I mean, I think there's a lot up in the air for him. One, he wants to know, like his son declared for the draft. I don't think he's going to get drafted. But that's probably hanging over it. Like, does he get drafted? If he does, LeBron's going to make a call. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to put pressure on the Lakers. I don't think Darvin Ham should be feeling overly optimistic about his future
Pressure
there.
on the Lakers to do what? They've done the same thing the last 2 years.
Exactly, but that's why. Like he's still pulling his weight for the most part.
Well, it's they got to rip the Band-Aid off sooner or later and say, you're not making calls around here anymore, man.
Yeah.
As good as you are for your age, you're just not doing it. You're not the GM, and if you don't want, you got to go just be a player or go somewhere else.
Never going to happen with him. That's the thing. Like he's not going to go quietly.
Then you walk away. Then you walk away.
They might. They might.
He's a distraction.
That's
man.
dangerous. He's still LeBron, though. Like
He is. He sells
tickets.
tickets. They sells jerseys,
does.
but they just get crushed.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they had to play their way in, and they're down in 5 games to Denver again. It's not good. All right, hour 2 coming up. Claude Julien, confirm or deny. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.